Once you are a Jew, there's no way out. Once you are born from a Jewish mother, or you convert properly, you are Jewish forever. There is no way out.
Are Jews more connected to God than non-Jews?
The answer is very simple. The answer is no. Because for a non-Jew to connect to God, as you said, you just got to do 7 things. A non-Jew that follows those 7 commandments is as connected to God as human beings need to be. We don't look for converts in Judaism. We don't want people to convert. We believe that all mankind, beloved by God, and will get a place in the world to come just by being good people. We're not smarter than non-Jews, but there's a spiritual connection that the Jewish people have that no one else in the world has. God gives everyone free choice to do anything they want. A person's going to kill somebody. God's not going to come down from heaven and stop the bullet.
They have to realize that they're not only making a choice for themselves, they're also making a choice for future generations. Welcome, everybody, to Moral Edge. We are beginning a brand new podcast with somebody very, very special, somebody that I know very, very well, and we're very, very excited about it. It's called The Rabbi Says with Rabbi Ari Enkin. And let me tell you a little bit about the rabbi. First, the formal stuff, and then I'll tell you the real truth. Rabbi Enkin is a resident of Ramat Beit Shemesh, scholar of halacha and minhag, which means Jewish law and custom. He received rabbinic ordination from a number of yeshivot and world-renowned rabbinic authorities. He holds a master's degree in informal adult education. Oh, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. See, I'm learning too. Rabbi Enkin is the author of over a dozen books on halacha. I did know that, by the way, and I have a few autographed copies, by the way. I still need a few more.
Okay.
The early days, I don't think you got me.
Okay.
And he's regularly consulted by rabbis and laymen from around the world on matters of Jewish law. He teaches advanced Jewish law privately one-on-one online. We'll talk about that after, or maybe we'll give you guys a discount. Sorry. Did I speak out of line?
That's great.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll just raise the price before we give the discount.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And he delivers lectures in the community and around the world by invitation. So this is Rabbi Ari Enkin. He's also a good friend of mine. And he's also, most famously, perhaps, the best dressed rabbi probably on the planet. So we got a good shot of his matching tie and thingy there. Okay.
Thank you.
He's a man of the world. He's truly, really a blessing to the community and to the world. He gives classes online to people from all religions and all countries. So he's really a blessing. He's somebody very special, and it's definitely worth to hear what the rabbi has to say. What is the rabbi going to tell us today? We're going to learn something very interesting. I'm going to try to let you speak mostly, but I can't promise I'm not going to interject.
Okay, no problem.
All right, so let's hear. What's on your mind today? What do you want to share with everybody?
So first of all, I want to just comment on your, you notice that I like to dress well. I want to tell you where that comes from. I think maybe our viewers will be interested. And when Jacob was running away for his life from his brother Esav, he asked God, I want 2 things in life. I don't expect much. I don't need much. I just need lechem lechol ubeged lilbosh. God, I need food and I need clothing. And I see that passage every year when we read it in the Torah reading. I see, maybe that's really what's important in life. Not too much more. I'm not into fancy cars or fancy furniture or possessions and things in the house. But I do ensure that my clothes are tops and the food that we buy, we eat, healthy, tops, quality. And that's where I get it from.
Are you going to tell everyone where you buy your clothes?
That'll be another episode. That'll be another episode.
I can tell people there's a country that you used to buy your clothes in that you will not go in anymore. And you curse day and night. Not real curses, God forbid, you're a rabbi.
Right.
But we'll leave that maybe for
another episode.
Okay. But yes, I can attest to the fact that you are the best dressed man in the shul, in the synagogue, and probably the entire community and maybe the entire world. So that's a big compliment.
But I do have to comment on what you just said about where I get my clothing. I'm very lucky that I was getting this nice clothing at cost price or less.
Right. Okay.
So I want to make that clear that I was very lucky.
The rabbi knows how to forge proper relationships. And
the right people.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's all about who you know.
Can we hear about that too?
About the clothing?
How to make relationships.
How to win friends and influence people. There's a great book. There's a great book.
Okay.
But
we'll leave that for another podcast.
Another class.
What are we talking about today?
Who's a Jew? What's a Jew? What does being Jewish mean? What am I expected to do as a Jew? How about things like that?
Who is a Jew?
Who's a Jew?
Well, I'm a Jew.
So as an Orthodox rabbi, I can tell you very authoritatively that a Jew is someone born from a Jewish mother or who converts properly according to Jewish law. We call that today Orthodox conversion because that's the only stream of Judaism that's loyal to Jewish law. That's it. I mean, if you were born from a Jewish mother, you're Jewish no matter how observant you are or not observant you are. And if you convert properly, you're a member of the tribe. That's what a Jew is. That is who is a Jew. There is no other way to be Jewish, and people have to realize that you might be affiliated with the Jewish people, or you might have gotten a conversion online, or some kind of flimsy type of affiliation.
You
with
don't
Jewish
do
people.
those?
I only help facilitate conversions that would be recognized around the world. So, and there's no such thing as an online conversion that's recognized around the world. But that's who a Jew is. Let's again summarize. Either you're born from a Jewish mother, because a Jewish lineage goes from mother to mother to mother, descends from the matrilineal descent, or you do a conversion. And make no mistake, we don't look for converts in Judaism. We don't want people to convert. We believe that non-Jews go to heaven just by being good people, just being by moral people, believing in God and living a moral lifestyle. We believe that all mankind is beloved by God and will get a share in heaven, will get a place in the world to come. There's no need to convert.
What if a Jew forsakes the Jewish religion or the Jewish people openly? Does that affect his status as a Jew in any way? If he says, I don't believe in God, or I believe in idols, something like that, how does that affect his status?
So once you're a Jew, there's no way out. There's absolutely no way out. You can go to a monastery in India and wear this clothing. Once you are born into the religion, once you are born from a Jewish mother, or you convert properly, you are Jewish forever. There is no way out. It doesn't matter how much bacon and eggs you eat for breakfast or whatever it might be, you are Jewish forever. Unfortunately, you're a Jew who sins. But a Jew who sins is still a Jew.
Well, that's an important point, because I think a lot of people think that, say, religious Jews maybe look down on non-religious Jews and almost in a way think of them as not being Jews. Not technically, but they kind of have that attitude, and that's really unhealthy, and it's very untrue. So I think it's important to get that point across.
Yeah, we both agree that Jews have to love Jews. Every Jew is a diamond. And we have to feel bad that Jews are not living a Jewish lifestyle, because the only lifestyle that brings happiness and satisfaction is a religious lifestyle. And I mean that for anybody. I'm going to tell you that the more observant Christian and the more observant Hindu and the more observant Buddhist is happier than the secular Christian or the secular Hindu. A religious lifestyle is meaningful. It's interesting. It's variety. It's exciting. And I feel bad for Jews who don't appreciate our heritage, don't know our heritage, don't appreciate the turning off of the devices for Shabbat and having 24, 25 hours to yourself with no noise, with the family, enjoying the community in the synagogue, the good food, the songs, the holiday schedule, the good times, the bad times. This is what makes life interesting and exciting, not a plain secular lifestyle with no meaning, no reason to wake up in the morning.
100%. One of the big problems that we have is trying to get more Jews like that to experience, not to force any kind of religion on them, but to experience what it means to actually live a Jewish lifestyle just by observing a family. And very often that experience alone, rather than learning texts or philosophy or anything like that, just having that experience of being with people and feeling the beauty of a Jewish lifestyle, the way God really wanted us to have it, is worth everything. So I don't know if you have a secret formula about how to get more secular Jews,
like you said, we have to reach.
Fold.
They have to see Jewish families. They have to see Jewish life. They have to see that we're happier. Our family life is happier. Our marriages are happier. Just going to work is happier, and people have to see that.
Especially the Shabbat table, like people come and that is really life transforming.
Yeah,
just sitting at a table, looking at how the parents interact with the children, and just the peace, the beauty in the home. Of course, when the wife burns the chicken, how does the husband react?
Right.
No comment.
Yeah.
But seriously, yes, that's definitely that is
Shabbat
what we need.
candles are burning.
Yeah.
And the food is extra special, delicious on Shabbat. Elaborate meals. Our Christian friends only get this twice a year. The elaborate meals and the beautiful dinners. They get the Christmas dinner, maybe the Easter dinner, Thanksgiving dinner. We get it every week.
Right.
Every week. Jewish people, wake up. We get this every week. Yeah, there's nothing like being Jewish. We're very lucky to be born into it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So you're also going to talk about what is Judaism? What is it? A religion? Is it a nationality? Is it a big family? Is it ethnic? Okay, the definition of having a Jewish mother is fine, but as a people, what are we? Are we a religion of people?
We are, maybe I'll make up a word over here, natio-religious people. We are both a nation and a religion. And I'll prove it to you.
Well, what's the difference?
Yeah,
Firstly,
yeah.
what is a nation and what is a religion?
Okay, so a nation is a passport holder. Okay, anyone who holds an American passport is an American citizen. Doesn't matter what they think, what they eat, where they go, what they do. If you hold an American passport, you're an American citizen. You're born from a Jewish mother, you have the passport. You're a Jew, you have the passport. If you don't do the right thing, you're still a Jew. You're part of the nation. You have the passport. But we're also a religion because we were created at Mount Sinai. We were forged at Mount Sinai with the law. God took us out of Egypt and he gave us the law. He said, I want you to live this way. These are the laws. And unfortunately, when a Jew doesn't follow those laws, they're not following what was meant to be. But they're still Jewish and they're still part of our people. So, like I said earlier, a Jew who sins is still a Jew. We have to differentiate between the religion, which is very important. It's not optional. In Judaism, you got to be following the laws, and the nation. You can't get out of it. Even if a Jew sins, he's still Jewish. So we are perhaps the only nation that's also, equally a religion. We have a state, we have a land, a state that is for the Jewish people. All Jews have a connection to the state, no matter how observant they are, because again, the religion and the nation, it works together. It's both independent, but tied hand in hand. And that's very unique. There's no other nation or religion in the world that has such a status.
But you're still part of the nation, even if you don't live in Israel, and if you've never even visited Israel.
Of course.
So it's a nation, and Israel is that physical location. But you're still part of the nation, even if you never go to Israel.
Of course, for 2,000 years there was no Israel.
Right. So that's how it's different. Like an American, you have to be an American citizen, you have to live there or become naturalized or something. You have to, or have been parents born there or been born there, something like that. But to be Jewish, there's no such thing. You could be, you're part of a nation, yet you could be scattered, in the most remote corners of the world.
As we were for 2,000 years.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, and you are bound by the laws, by Jewish law, by the Jewish religion, regardless of where you live, regardless of when you lived, regardless of how you live. Those laws are binding. It's interesting because, can you imagine an American, okay, I'm born American, so I have to now, get up at 8 in the morning and I wear a white shirt or do whatever. That doesn't. There's such a thing doesn't exist in what we call modern nation states. But what about in terms of religions? Is there such thing as being a member of the Muslim nation or the Christian nation or other are those nations at all or just purely religions?
No, a Muslim and a Christian will tell you that if you don't follow the Christian religion, you're not a Christian. It doesn't matter that you're born into a Christian family. If you don't accept, the Christian prophet, you're not Christian. If you're born to a Muslim family, but you don't accept the Muhammad and the Ramadan and you're not a Muslim. We'll say, okay, you're born to Judaism, you are Jewish no matter what you observe or you don't observe. So we are very unique in that way.
What about the Muslims? Is there a concept of a Muslim nation? If you're born a Muslim, maybe you don't have one specific state that is your home state, but there are how many Muslim countries today? Dozens.
There's 20-something Muslim countries with a total of 40-something Arab countries.
Right. So when we talk about Arab nationalism...
I reverse that. It's about 20-something Arab countries with a total of about 40-something Muslim countries.
Okay.
Like Indonesia, they're not Arabs, but they're Muslim, right? Turkey is not Arabs, but they're Muslims.
But there's no such thing as a Muslim, as being part of the Muslim nation. You're being part of the Muslim religion.
Correct.
There's no nation.
Correct.
Right. So that's really, really very, very unique.
And just on that thought just now that we just spoke about, Christians believe if you don't accept Jesus, you're going to hell. Muslims believe if you don't accept Muhammad, you're going to hell. Judaism says you don't have to be Jewish to go to heaven. Once again, as I said earlier, as long as you believe in God and you're a good person, you're going to heaven. You don't need to convert to Judaism for any salvation or any heavenly rewards.
Right. That's something definitely unique about the Jewish religion. Yeah. There's a place for everybody.
And we don't want converts.
Now, why don't we want converts? I mean, do you know, as a rabbi, I don't know, what's the historical basis, or is it from the Torah? Why is it that we don't want converts? I mean, Abraham, he was the first Jew, right? Avram Avinu. Yeah. He went around, his whole job was to go around and convert people to the belief in one God, which eventually became Judaism. So why don't we want to follow in his footsteps and do the same thing?
Very good. So first of all, to some extent, we do want to follow in the footsteps of Abraham. And that is, we do want to ensure that people are monotheistic. That is a Jewish mission. We want to tell the world that there's only one God, and you have to believe in one God. The entire world must believe in the one God of Israel, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Any non-Jew who doesn't believe in the God of Israel is sinning, for lack of a better word. Not that the Hindu fellow in India understands or cares that I'm saying he's sinning because I don't believe in the God of Israel. But we believe that you have to believe in the God of Israel. So we do have proselytization to the Abraham model to some extent, like you mentioned, just monotheism. But regarding Judaism as a religion and all the commandments, the mitzvot that we do, the Shabbat, the kosher, the Passover, that was given at Mount Sinai only for the Jewish people. God only wants Jews following the mitzvahs of the Torah. We are very happy to watch our Christian neighbors have the bacon and eggs for breakfast. We want them to enjoy it, and they're allowed to enjoy it, and they should enjoy it. It's only Jews who are given the Torah. We want our Christians and Muslim neighbors to eat bread on Passover. There's absolutely no benefit for Christians not to eat bread on Passover because the Torah wasn't given to them. The mitzvahs, the Torah, and the mitzvahs of the Torah are given only to the Jewish people. And so we don't want you, Christians, Muslims, whoever it might be, following our Torah. We want you being monotheistic.
Unless they convert.
Unless they convert.
No, so
they
why
really
don't we want them to convert?
We don't need converts.
We don't need.
It wasn't the original model. The original model was, the matrilineal descent. In
other words, I see what you're saying. God's plan, according to our understanding, was not that the world should all be Jews. Is that the world should all accept him as the one God.
Correct.
And follow the 7 commandments of Noah, like there are Noahide movements,
correct,
which we are supposed to encourage, as you said.
Yeah.
But in terms of being Jewish, that really wasn't what God's intent was. Now, a Muslim might, again, I'm not speaking on behalf of Muslims.
Right.
Here, it sounds like, and I don't know about Christians either, I can't talk on behalf of them, but it sounds like they are driven to try to make as many converts as possible. And in their belief, that's what God wants. He wants more people to believe in Jesus. He wants more people to believe in Muhammad or to accept the Muslim religion. And that's their mission. Our mission is to just have the world understand that the one true God is the God of the Jewish people, but he's really the God of the whole world. Right. And there are different roles for Jews and for non-Jews. Yeah. So there's no point. Now, but having said that, of course, for those non-Jews that want to become part of the Jewish people, they can.
They can.
Do we discourage you? How does it typically work? Have you had experience with convert? How does it work?
Yeah. So generally at conversion, we try to turn away the non-Jew who wants to convert. We turn them away. You don't need this. We tell them, you don't need this. We're being persecuted. We become Jewish. Your house is going to be targeted. Your schools are going to be targeted. Your family. You don't want to be Jewish. There's no need to join the movement.
And plus, you love bacon and eggs and cheese.
Why
right?
lose that? Now, if you now eating bacon, no problem. But if you do it after conversion, it's going to be a terrible, terrible sin. So we discourage that for we don't want people falling into sin, even accidentally. What if a person converts with all the right intentions, but they just go crazy for that bacon after 6 months, they need that bacon back, and now they're sinning. Don't go there. You don't need to go there. So the persecution, we tell them, we turn them away. We turn them away 3 times. Traditionally, you turn away a convert 3 times. And if they're really, really devoted, like Ruth in the Bible, they just won't leave us alone. Okay, you can join the club, but we got rules. And we got mitzvahs, and you got to keep Shabbat. Things might change. And if they're ready for that, they'll be accepted. They'll be accepted.
Why? What would motivate a non-Jew who believes in God's Torah? And he could be a very fine person, just following the 7 commandments, being a very fine person, understanding the truth about the world. Why would he want to undertake such a restrictive, if you will, lifestyle? If he doesn't have to.
Very good. I'll tell you why. In my experience, what I've seen with converts. And I'm not here to knock any religion at all. And, and I don't care. We don't care as Jews what non-Jews believe. As long as they believe in the God of Israel, call it Islam, call it Christianity, call it whatever you want. I'm not here to criticize any religion. But from our experience and research, the Christian religion has a lot of loose threads, a lot of flaws, a lot of contradictions, a lot of problems. Islam, the Quran, with all due respect, not commenting again on their religion, but there's a lot of loose threads over there that don't make sense. And a lot of non-Jews realize this. Like, this religion doesn't make sense. I mean, why does the crucifixion of Jesus have 4 different versions in 4 different books? Like, when did it happen? How did it happen? Things aren't consistent. There's contradictions. It can't be true. He died. He's not coming back. There's no virgin birth. It's a mistranslation of the verses of the scripture. So a lot of people just come to the conclusion that the only true religion is the Jewish religion.
But why do they have to become Jewish? Can't
they don't?
No, that's what I'm asking.
They feel that attachment that I found truth. I see that's the truth. That's the only real God-given religion. People want God-given religion.
It must be, more people that were deeply religious or deep thinkers to something else that realize this is the truth, and then they want the whole thing. They want the whole package. I don't know. Does that sound right to you?
100%.
Because if they were hot into something else, now they're exposed to the truth, so they want the whole package.
They want the attachment, the
Right.
connection.
So the 7 mitzvos, the 7 commandments of Noah, and belief in God, the God of Israel is on the right track, but
That's sufficient.
it may not be enough for them. They want a stronger connection.
Okay.
Now, let me ask you a tough question. Okay, it may not be politically correct. Are Jews more connected to God than non-Jews?
So, no, the answer is very simple. The answer is no. And in fact, it's easier for non-Jews to connect to God than it is for Jews. Because for a non-Jew to connect to God, as you said, you just got to do 7 things. We'll go into that later on or another episode. It's called the Noahide laws. We believe that God gave mankind 7 commandments, very easy commandments to follow. A non-Jew that follows those 7 commandments is as connected to God as human beings need to be. For a Jew to get that level of connection, we got to do all the mitzvos. Okay, all the commandments of the Torah. So you got a Jew these are 613, by the way. The Torah has 613 commandments. A Jew who does 612 is not as close to God as a non-Jew who does 7.
Wow.
We need all of them. We need the full package to get close to God to our highest potential. A non-Jew only needs 7 to get to God to his highest potential.
Wow. Well, 613. Well, firstly, as you know, not everybody can do all 613.
Right.
There
Some are
reasons,
not relevant nowadays.
Right.
Yeah.
Some are not relevant. But even so, fine. Let me reframe the question.
Okay.
Is a Jew who is observing the 613, or as many are as possible today, closer to God than a non-Jew who's observing the 7?
Oh, so that's a good question. That's a fair question. The answer is, we do believe there's a closer connection for the Jew to God. I'm sure our viewers know about the chosen people, the treasured nation. And we believe that's real in a spiritual way. We're not smarter than non-Jews. We're not greater in this area or that area. But there's a spiritual connection that the Jewish people have that no one else in the world has. And when a Jew has this potential, the 613 commandments, or as many as we can fulfill, yet they would be closer to God in our belief, especially according to the Kabbalah, more than actual, Torah and Talmud. Kabbalah emphasizes this in great detail. But yeah, we do believe that the Jew will be closer to God as the firstborn, the chosen, the treasured.
So that could be a reason why a non-Jew who's a religious person and realizes that Judaism is the truth would want to become Jewish, because if he's able to fulfill all of the commandments, he could get himself to a higher level than if he's remained as a faithful non-Jew observing the 7.
Yeah, that's a good argument.
But the question is he up to, observing the 613? And that's a challenge, I guess. Is that part of the conversion process where the rabbi wants to kind of understand, is this person really committed to all of them? Are there certain commandments that they just don't go well with him? Like, does he have to say that I accept all of them completely, even if he has a problem with, there's just one that I don't really get, I don't accept, I get the other 612? Is will that prevent a conversion?
So very good. You bring up a whole world of issues that need to be discussed. And that is, number one, unfortunately, many people convert for the wrong reasons. And very often, unfortunately nowadays, North America certainly, people convert for marriage. They convert to Judaism because their spouse, the future spouse, is Jewish. And that's an
well, how else do you marry a Jewish doctor if you're not Jewish?
Yeah. So it's all kinds of good jokes on that one. But that's not an acceptable reason to convert. Okay, conversion for marriage is unacceptable. The only reason that a person should convert is because they believe that the Torah is divine and they want to keep all the commandments of the Torah. And literally all the commandments. If a non-Jew converts towards conversion in the process, says, you know what, I love Shabbat, I love Passover, I'll blow the shofar on Rosh Hashanah, I just need that bacon for breakfast. I just
one thing.
There's one thing.
Just one thing.
Yeah, we say
no good.
No good. So thank you for coming. We love you.
Even though most Jews in the world do a very small fraction of the 613, right. And here's someone's willing to do everything except one, still no good?
Correct.
So the secular Jew who does nothing, he's a Jew, and this non-Jew who wants to do everything except one little thing, he cannot be a Jew.
That's correct. Back to that passport we mentioned earlier. Once you have the passport, you're in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow, I wonder why God set it up that way. I mean, I don't think you have that answer. I mean, unless you do, I don't know.
Some things we don't know.
Wow, that's interesting. So we were talking before about the Jews being both a nation and a religion, kind of an ethnicity, but we're also thought of as a family. Like, that's a less technical definition, because I don't mean a family in the sense that, a direct sibling, although really we do all go back to Abraham, except converts perhaps don't.
Right.
But generally speaking, but in family, in terms of just like how Jews relate to each other, there's something like, being the member of the tribe, like even this like non-Jewish baseball player, but he has some affinity for Israel. He has some, it's in Hollywood everywhere. There's Jews just feel this natural connection to the point where, as I'm sure you've experienced many times, especially living in a religious community, people just call you on the phone. We'd like to come for Shabbat. We need to stay over. We don't know. You don't know who this person is. We don't know where know anything about him. He's a Jew in need. We invite him into our home.
That's right.
Why is that? How is that? Where did that come from?
Where did it come from? Very good question. Now, it comes from the Torah. And there's many different passages in the Torah that tell us to treat every single Jew like family. I'll give you an example. A famous example is that when a Jew lends money to another Jew, they are forbidden to take interest. When we lend money, we lend $100, we're only allowed to get back $100. And the Torah tells us because he is your brother. Any Jew is your brother, and family doesn't charge interest one to another. And the Talmud goes on to great detail what it means a brother, love your fellow as you love yourself, fellow Jews. The Kabbalah goes into this in even greater detail, how all the souls are connected, the chosen people, the treasured nation are all pieces of one larger soul. So this plays out in examples that you mentioned that, any Jew in trouble can call another Jew for help, Shabbat hospitality. To give you an example of how Jews are one big family, besides the Torah passages and the Talmudic passages, but there's recently a story that a plane from Tel Aviv to New York was rerouted due to a snowstorm to Detroit. And before the plane landed, the airport was filled with kosher food for all the travelers who needed kosher food. Every single passenger, strangers, several hundred people, strangers, had transportation ready for them. The airline couldn't believe what was happening. I mean, the Jewish community of Detroit bypassed the airline and their responsibilities for the passengers and taken care of. It's very unique. That's what the Jewish family is.
We take care of each other.
We take care of each other.
And also all these volunteer ambulance organizations, Hatzalah, right, just popped up everywhere.
Jewish communities around the world, private Jewish ambulance services. And even non-Jews call because they know we're going to do something.
Right, we don't just take care of our own. We take care of our own, but we also take care of others.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
in Israel, many of the members of this force are Arabs, Muslims. Well, in Israel, it's part of it's even like a greater family. We really take care of everybody here. But what happens if somebody falls on the street or somebody gets injured, like in Israel and publicly, right?
People will run over to help and pick them up and try to, whatever's needed.
What happens on a New York City subway if a Jew is being attacked?
They'll be there for weeks. They'll be on the ground for weeks until somebody comes and does something sometimes.
Right. So we have a message for the world.
Yeah,
and I think
we call that darkei shalom. There's a term that the rabbis use, that Talmud elaborates on, is that, Jews have to care for one another, but don't forget the non-Jew either.
Right.
It's called darkei shalom, ways of peace.
It's just being a good person too.
Yeah, being a good person, spreading peace, spreading goodness in the world.
Well, I think it's a good segue into something called Kiddush Hashem, which means sanctifying God's name. The Jews are supposed to be the model people for the world, right? A light unto the nations.
That's exactly
so we're judged, as you know, because of the anti-Semitism, obviously to a ridiculous point, but there's a double standard. Jews are always held to a double standard. But to some extent, we do need to be held to a double standard because what God expects from us is not necessarily what he expects from other people. We have to live up to that higher standard, and we have to teach the world goodness because it really all comes from God. So we have sometimes Jews that could be the most non-religious, but they're going out of their way to do this unbelievable kindness for someone, not even because they know the Torah requires it, because basically it's in their DNA.
DNA.
It's in their blood. Right. And when we do these things, we become we're supposed to. I mean, of course, nowadays with the anti-Semitism, there's only nothing that a Jew can do that would be called good. But it's supposed to be that what we're doing is always a model for the world. So if you're walking around, let's say with a yarmulke on, you're an obvious Jew, right? You're a rabbi. Okay, so you look like, you don't have the long beard and stuff. All right, we'll give you a pass on that.
We have a class on that also. Okay. Beards, no beards. Right. What's with the sideburns, the side locks.
Right.
A lot to talk about.
You don't look like a typical rabbi, but you look like a well-dressed rabbi, let's say, but you wear your yarmulke in public, obviously, even when you're traveling. I don't know about when you're going to Turkey. Oops, did I say Turkey? We don't talk about Turkey anymore, except for Thanksgiving dinner. Right. Oh, do we observe that? I don't know. That's another topic. Okay.
Yeah.
What was I saying? I'm saying when you're wearing that yarmulke publicly, Do you feel people are looking at you, and do you feel a certain responsibility to act in a certain way, not only because it's right, but because people are going to be looking at you to learn from you?
Absolutely. So wearing a yarmulke in public definitely keeps a Jew on his best behavior because everyone's looking. We see the Jew, he sticks out, especially nowadays in the world we live in. The Jew very much sticks out. So the Jew is going to behave to a higher standard when he has a kippah on his head, a yarmulke on his head. On that note, however, if a Jew is traveling in a dangerous place, they should wear a hat and not a yarmulke. There's no need to get yourself into danger by wearing the yarmulke. It's not one of those commandments that require us to give up our life or something like that. But in places where it's, rather safe to wear a yarmulke, it's highly encouraged. You'll be on your best behavior, and you'll make what you said, a kiddush Hashem. You'll sanctify God's name. People say, like, what a nice Jew, behaving so nicely, speaking nicely, conducting himself nicely.
That's how it's supposed to be. But I'm sure this happens to you sometimes, because I wear the yarmulke too. May not be a rabbi. I'm not that well dressed, but I still look like a religious Jew. And then you're somewhere in an amusement park or whatever, somewhere, and then like these Jews that are wearing yarmulkes are like doing something like not okay, and like cutting a line or whatever. I get not that most Jews do that,
right.
but it happens.
Yeah.
And then you feel uncomfortable. You feel like you kind of like almost like want to like, well, what could I do to show them that like
we're not all like that?
They're not doing the right thing. They're Jewish, but they're not acting Jewish. Yeah. You kind of feel like you want to just do something positive for them. You get like a squeamy kind of feeling, like, because let's face it, people do judge people. They make generalizations. When you see someone with a yarmulke, oh, that's how they are. Then, they know deep down that every person, not everyone's the same, but still there is this kind of judgment. And I always feel, I've myself feel very sensitive to that. So I try to do my best when I'm on public display, and I get squeamy, when someone's doing.
Yeah, we have to remember though, Jews are human,
right?
And the non-Jewish friends have to know that Jews are human, and we have to work on ourselves. We have to get better every single day. And some people just aren't holding there yet, and they behave maybe the way they shouldn't.
There's a Torah with laws for us to follow, meaning because it's a struggle. It doesn't mean if everything came naturally to us, then we wouldn't necessarily need the laws. We would know what to do. We have the laws because we often don't know what to do or don't do it right. So we have to constantly be on guard. Jew is like an ambassador. Would you say it's a fair statement to say we're ambassadors of God, like
Absolutely.
We're representatives of God?
The light unto the nations. That's exactly what an ambassador is. Yeah.
But often Jews don't. They live their lives and they're not really thinking that. It's an awareness, I think, that we need to have.
I think most Orthodox Jews do have that awareness, especially when out in public, in the public eye, in non-Jewish territories, in new territories, and traveling around the world. I think most Orthodox Jews are aware of that, are cognizant of the idea.
Right, okay, and they should be.
Yeah, live up to it.
We're talking about defining Judaism, and throughout the ages, there are movements that would go against traditional Judaism. In the modern world, there's Reform, there's Conservative, Reconstructionist. They are Jews, as you say, as long as they're born by a Jewish mother, but they seem to be preaching some kind of Jewish philosophy that is anti-Torah, anti-traditional. So I want to see if you can address that. Like, first of all, why did that come about? We know ultimately it won't be successful, but they have had success over the years. People were looking for something different. Why does that come about? And it's not just rooted in modern times. Going back to ancient times, there were many movements. Can you talk a little bit about that, how they developed, why they developed, and then how they ended?
Okay. Well, first of all, throughout Judaism from the very beginning, we've always had what's called machloket, disputes, difference of opinions. Every single page of the Talmud has differences of opinions. So very often, even from the Talmud, those differences of opinions have broken off to different schools of thought and different movements, for lack of a better word, some legitimate movements and some were illegitimate movements. Any movement that remains loyal to Jewish law is legitimate. Take the Orthodox Jewish world. You have the Hasidic with their, 20, 30, 40 different groups, the modern Orthodox, the ultra non-Hasidic Orthodox. You have all these movements within Orthodoxy. They're all legitimate because they're all loyal to Jewish law and to the halacha. But the Reform and the Conservative are not loyal to halacha. They're loyal to convenience, to social norms, their opinions.
Do they believe God gave the Torah to the Jews at Mount Sinai?
So, to my knowledge, I can't speak for Reform Judaism or Conservative Judaism, but to my knowledge, they don't accept the revelation at Sinai as being authentic.
Because if they did, they would preach to people to follow the laws.
No, Michael, I would disagree with that. They could claim in theory that we believe the Torah is given at Sinai, but nowadays, pig is clean. It's properly.
It's not relevant. It's
not relevant. Yeah. That you can take that argument that, we believe in the Torah, but just some of the commandments are no longer relevant to the modern era. As Orthodox Jews and Orthodox rabbi, we believe the Torah is timeless and all the mitzvahs,
Right. Okay. So how did these movements start? What was the beginning point? When did the first divergence occur in history? And was it successful? And then what followed?
So we've had break-off movements in Judaism from the time the Jews were slaves in Egypt. Because in Egypt, among the Jews, there were break-off movements that were no longer loyal to Moses, loyal to God, to the Exodus. And they were dealt with the way the Torah says they were dealt with. Many of them died, didn't leave Egypt. So we've had break-off movements from time immemorial. And again, break-off movements is not necessarily a bad word, as long as they're loyal to the nation and to the law, but a different way.
Do you know one Orthodox synagogue that doesn't have a breakaway?
Yeah, exactly. It's a very famous joke in Judaism that, every Jewish city has 2 synagogues. One synagogue we'll never go into. We go that synagogue. Okay. So Jews having breakaways and breakoffs is not a new thing at all. It's as old as Judaism itself. But again, it's not always a bad word. It's not always a bad thing. The conservative, like we said, and the Reform are not loyal to Jewish law. They broke away, and therefore, as an Orthodox rabbi, I would tell you they're illegitimate movements. As anything that doesn't believe in the God of Israel and the Torah is illegitimate.
Can we fault the followers for following? Like, who's at fault here? Is it just the leaders and the followers? Are the followers supposed to realize, hey, this is like watered down? Or do they follow it because it's a convenient lifestyle, or do they actually believe the philosophy that traditional Judaism is not relevant anymore?
So I think the Reform and the non-Orthodox movements began because they were lazy. They didn't want to be committed to the commandments. Inconvenience, no longer relevant to modern society. Why should I rest on Saturdays? Our friends are resting on Sundays. But they still wanted to be connected. They still wanted to be part of the Jewish people, part of the Jewish religion. And that's how you have the breakaway movements. They broke away because they wanted it. They made the claim. They broke away because they made the claim that the Torah and its commandments were no longer relevant. And they were lazy. They didn't want to be committed, but they still want to be connected to the Jewish religion. But now the Reform Judaism is getting watered down and watered down and watered down. And I would say it's very possible we're at a point that, at least in Reform Judaism, the majority of the followers may not be Jewish. Because Reform Judaism accepts patrilineal descent, which goes against orthodoxy and normative traditional custom. We follow the mother. So in a Reform temple, you'll have Jewish men married to non-Jewish women who are accepted in the congregation like all people are accepted, but their children are not Jewish. Forever, that can't be changed.
How did patrilineal descent become a thing? Like, traditional Judaism is clear. Right. And when we say traditional Judaism, there's only one kind of Judaism, right? We call it traditional Judaism because there are non-traditional movements which are opposing what really God had intended. So we call it traditional Judaism. But there's only one Judaism, and it's clear in Judaism that Jews are Jews if their mother is Jewish. So where did this come from? How did they justify that? Like, somebody just decided, woke up one morning and said, father's good too. Like, where does that come from?
Okay, I'll tell you where it comes from. First of all, I have to do some research before I say authoritatively, but there might have been a time in Jewish history where we also accepted patrilineal descent. And there was a switch at some time to matrilineal descent. Again, I would have to do some more homework to give an authoritative answer.
You're getting yourself in trouble here,
It could be. But there is something about that which blurry now, a little bit blurry, but there is something.
Is it perhaps before the Torah was given? Okay.
Before the Torah was given.
I remember hearing something like that.
Exactly. There is something about that which I want to clarify before I say authoritatively, but there is something about that it wasn't always matrilineal descent. Mm-hmm. So they want to make that claim. We're going back to pre-Torah lineage. Another reason to accept patrilineal descent, although it's illegitimate, but the reason they claim is because for tribal purposes, we follow the father. So a person is only Jewish if the mother's Jewish, but what tribe they belong to would go by the father.
Right.
So that's where they tried to adapt the tribal lineage to total Judaism.
I see. So they found something in the Torah that does work through the father, and they kind of just misapplied it to actually define who's a Jew. Now, that's a very big misapplication because we got to know who's Jewish and who's not. It's very important. We started this conversation with who is a Jew.
That's right.
And if you start tampering with who is a Jew, we're going to have a lot of trouble, because down in generations later, there could be people that become religious, and it could turn out that they thought they were Jewish and they were never actually Jewish,
100%.
which can cause a lot of problems for future generations.
I'll give you examples of that. I mean, the body of Jewish law is called the halacha. And, there are groups in Judaism that don't do conversions according to the halacha, so their conversions are invalid, illegitimate. There are groups in Judaism that don't do divorces the way the halacha says, and therefore their divorces are invalid, which means that any remarriage after such an invalid divorce gives birth to illegitimate children.
Right.
In English, they call them bastards. In Hebrew, they call them mamzerim. And you've just totally destroyed the Jewish people. So again, the body of halacha is a defining factor for who is Jewish. So, you have, different groups, maybe to no fault of their own. You mentioned who's to blame for this. So a person born into a Reformed family with Reformed parents, or 2 or 3 generations already Reformed, you can't blame them for being Reformed Jews. We have no anger, no ill will towards them. Again, if they're really Jewish, we want to bring them to the real Jewish religion, Jewish life, and the beauty of Jewish practice. But nowadays, we have a term for this in rabbinic law. It's called tinok shenishba. And this means when a Jew sins to no fault of his own, we don't blame him. Born into it, didn't know better, never got a Jewish education. Tinok shenishba.
And God doesn't blame him either.
Correct. They're exempt from punishment, for a lack of a better
Now,
word.
here's a question for you.
Okay.
So why did God create him in such an environment without giving him a real chance to live a full Jewish life?
So that's related to the unresolved discussion of free choice. And we believe that God gives mankind free choice. And the first generation of this Reformed family, this imaginary Reformed family we're referring to, they had free choice to go off Judaism. God gives everyone free choice to do anything they want. If a person's going to kill somebody, God's not going to come down from heaven and stop the bullet. We have all free choice in religious matters and material matters. And if a family breaks off from traditional Judaism, you're going to have generations and generations of non-observant Jews, and maybe not even halachic Jews, not legitimate Jews.
But why should a child who's an innocent victim be accountable for that? Let's say a child of 3rd generation Reformed Jews. He has no concept of what real Judaism is. He didn't make any choices. He didn't have a choice. He was born as a Reformed Jew, doesn't have a clue what it means to be a traditional Jew. It's not fair, is it?
And not fair from what perspective?
God's
not fair?
perspective. Why create a Jew and not give him an opportunity to live life as a fulfilled Jew?
Nah, I don't see any theological problem with this reality. Again, free choice, families go off, generations and generations are intermarried.
Yeah, but the grandparents went off, but this kid didn't go off. He's like you say, he's a baby that was, as a baby captured by by another
Society,
group. And right. So
he won't be punished for anything he does wrong.
Right.
I'll give you an example related. I mentioned it a moment ago, and something you kind of touched upon is, a Jewish woman commits adultery. The child is called a mamzer, a bastard. The child is blacklisted for life. Out of the Jewish community, can't marry a regular Jew. Is it his fault? Not his fault. But this is the result of free choice that our parents have.
So
But people have.
I'm not going to drill you on this because I know it's a tough philosophical question. Why a Jewish soul doesn't really have a fair shot. You're saying there's a free choice, but a lot of times they have to be exposed to something like that. But let me just frame it this way. For people that do know and do make choices, they have to realize that they're not only making a choice for themselves, they're also making a choice for future generations.
Absolutely.
So if someone chooses to create an anti-religious movement or some kind of movement that is heretical to the Jewish religion or the Jewish people, they are not only messing themselves up, they're messing up their kids and their
100%.
grandkids forever. So just like when we do good things, we want to inspire our kids and we want to bring them in the right environment. And we know that what we're doing for us, we're also doing for our future generations. When we make decisions that are wrong, we should really think twice because maybe it's not for you, but why shouldn't your children and grandchildren have a fair chance, don't you think? It's an awareness that when people are making choices, it's not just about them. It's about, they have to take
Like everything in life.
Wow, Rabbi Enkin, or if I can call you Ari because you are my friend. Still, even after this? No, I think we did great today. We covered, I think, way more than we were thinking to cover today. We really touched on a lot of critical topics. I found myself very educated by what you had to say as well, even though obviously I'm a religious Jew. I've been doing this for a while, a bit longer than you. You can see the gray hair.
Yeah.
But I definitely learned a lot, and you have everything so clear, and I really appreciate that about you. Everything is clear, concise. There's no questions. It's a beautiful way to communicate. I know you're used to the more lecture style where you're up on the podium and you can see Ari can command the crowd. So this is a different format, but I think it was really excellent. I loved the conversation. I thought it was really meaningful, and I hope you out there, everyone, there you are enjoying it. There's so much more to learn. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but we hope you enjoyed the show, The Rabbi Says, with Rabbi Ari Enkin. Ari, again, thank you so much for being here. It was such a pleasure to have you.
Looking forward to more.
We'll see you again soon.